Okay, everybody, thank you for being here. My name is Russel Conn. I am the chair of the Democratic Environmental Caucus. We're here today to screen the movie Phosphate. We are blessed to have quite a few great panelists in attendance. We are doing this to raise awareness on phosphate issues and Mosaic's role in that. Unfortunately, we did have a late cancellation. Nikki Fried, unfortunately, will not be with us today, but she did send us a recording. It was a last-minute cancellation. She had a flight issue and couldn't get to a good location. So she did record us a video that I will play. And we will, with that, I want to thank everybody for being here. I especially want to thank my co-host this evening, Jesssika Arman, the president of Sarasota's chapter of the Environmental Caucus. This would not have happened without her efforts. So she has done awesome work. We also have our filmmaker, Erik with us, which is absolutely wonderful. He'll be leading some of the panel portion. And we have Mr. Walter Smith, Stel Bailey, Andy Mele as well. And we'll give you the full rundown on all of their bios after the film. We want to get right into the film so everybody can enjoy that. And then we'll do about 45 minutes of Q&A. So if you have any questions while you're watching the film, please feel free to use the chat feature, use the Q&A feature. Some of the panelists may respond to your Q&A questions during the film, or we can answer them live potentially as well. So feel free to use the Q&A feature. And with that, let's see. Just a quick disclaimer: for legal reasons, we don't want to get sued by Mosaic or any other phosphate company. The information contained in Phosphate represents the views and opinions of the original creators of the film. We have one with us, and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the DECF. The presentation of this film does not constitute an endorsement by the DECF. All right, I'm going to move this over so I can. By the DECF or its affiliates, sharers of the film, or film creators. The film has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The DECF does not make any representations or warranties with respect to the accuracy, applicability, fitness, or completeness of the film. The film is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have read or seen in this film. We hereby disclaim any and all liability to any party for any direct, indirect, implied, punitive, special, incidental, or other consequential damages arising directly or indirectly from any use of this film, which is presented with the express permission of the film creator. Okay, so with all of that, thank you so much. I'm going to give Jesssika a minute to speak about the importance of the film to her and why she's engaged on this issue. And we are going to go ahead, Jesssika.
Yes, I want to thank all this evening for being here. I'm Jesssika Arman. I am the president of the Environmental Caucus of Sarasota County Democrats. And we started a phosphate resolution that has been now adapted by the state of Florida, as well as a similar one that will be talked about later this evening by the state organization, which Russ is the head of. I just want to say this is our gift to you, Florida. This is my home state. I've known about phosphate mining my entire life. This film is about citizen scientists. I really, truly love you all. I don't care what side of the aisle you may be on. This is a nonpartisan issue. We will need every voice and every hand on the table to stop phosphate mining from encroaching and going further into further south to DeSoto County. This movie shows citizen scientists, basically, in my opinion, doing the job of what our government is supposed to do, testing water and protecting us from industry. We have to find a way to coexist with this, industry in Florida. I've been aware of it all my life, and unfortunately now it's really got the phosphate giant that, in my opinion, cannot fail. And it's a really big issue. I will let the film do the talking. I want everybody to please, feel free to question whatever you want of any of us. We're here for you. This is our gift for you. And we want everyone to become aware so you can help us hopefully spread awareness and fight the good fight against this giant. It is a David versus Goliath fight, but we already got one win. Maybe we can do it again. So enjoy the film, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you very much for that, Jesssika. I am going to put a link in chat. I'm putting a link in chat. Jessica's chapter helped organize this and had a pretty significant outlay she did personally to help make this happen. So if you like the film afterwards, please feel free to click that link at any point and support her chapter and their efforts in fighting the good fight. So with that, all of our panelists will turn our screen off and we will go ahead and play the movie for you. It's about 93 minutes, is that right? So without further ado, please grab your popcorn and enjoy the movie, and we'll see you after the movie's over. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Wow, that was an impressive movie. All right, so we're going to get into our panel very shortly. Andy is here. Let me make you a co-host so that way you can turn your screen off or on, excuse me. Real quick, I want to take just a moment for that to, I want to give us a moment of silence for all of the victims that have cancer diagnosis and other health effects due to the poisoning that is in our water due to these phosphate companies. Thank you very much. So in the Environmental Caucus, we've been working on this issue. We've had multiple chapters from across the state. We have 24 total chapters. We have mosaic mining in at least 6 or 7 of them. So it is a statewide issue, obviously, but we were working with Sarasota, who passed a resolution. We have since at the state level also passed a resolution. I'm going to share that real quick and give you our top line items, just so everybody knows where we stand as a caucus on these issues. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, good. We passed a resolution to protect Florida's waters from phosphate mining. We have a lot of actual data, but ultimately, due to things like this film, we came to the resolution that we are opposing new or expanded phosphate mining until these mines are truly safe and environmentally sustainable, if they ever can be. That there is sufficiently increased bond insurance to adequately cover the costs of inevitable failures, whether due to poor management, weak regulations, or natural events. That the legislature should fund solutions to environmental degradation caused by phosphate mining and improvement of best management practices that include sustainable outcomes. We insist on a clean closure of existing sites with remediation goals that include returning disturbed mining sites to equal or better environmental and habitable conditions, not just papering over them, but actually healing them. And that the state law prohibits the discharge of reclaimed water high in nitrogen into Florida's coastal waters. Thank you. Great. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Erik. Actually, I guess I got to introduce everybody and give you your proper props on your bios. Bear with me one second. So thank you for watching the film. I'm going to put in chat a link to donate and get involved. I assume everybody can hear me, right? Yeah. I'm going to put in chat a link for everybody to donate to Sarasota. And we'll go into the speaker introductions, and then we'll kick off with Erik. Jesssika Arman is the president of the Environmental Caucus of Sarasota County. She's a true native of the Sarasota area. She is raised on the barrier island of Siesta Key, and her family has been pioneers of Sarasota's arts, music, education, real estate, and medical fields since the 1950s. Jesssika has been a prominent figure in the real estate communities of Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte counties since 1998. Realtor with Premier Sotheby's International Realty, she has been recognized by Sarasota's Magazine for 8 years as a 5-star real estate agent, best in client satisfaction, a graduate of Emerson College in Boston. Jesssika earned a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication and went on to complete her master's degree in international relations from Boston University. She served as an intern in the economic section of the U.S. Embassy in Berlin, Germany, and worked for the Discovery Channel as part of the International Network Operation Unit responsible for the channel's worldwide launch. Erik Crown, and she also put this together. She helped me put this together big time. I have tremendous appreciation. Our director, producer, and filmmaker, Erik Crown, award-winning documentary filmmaker focused on eco and animal rights-based projects. He began working in production at the age of 13 with his father's company and becoming a professional film editor at the age of 16. He attended New York University where he studied film. Erik has worked on a variety of independent and Hollywood projects, including NBC's Scrubs and TMZ. I think I might have seen you in one of those. After learning he has an incurable cancer that cannot be treated, he changed his focus to documentary filmmaking, driven to investigate the environment that had made him sick. He has made documentaries investigating illegal pet trade in the Amazon rainforest, illegal fishing in South China, and corporate waste pollution causing cancer in the US. He is certified in plastic pollution management from the UN Environmental Program, and aside from his work in documentaries, he runs a weekly podcast examining international issues called the Conservation Conversation. It's a good tongue twister, isn't it? We also have Walter Smith, who is an environmental engineer at W.L. Smith and Associates Environmental Consulting. He's a community advocate, broadcast journalist, and a 21-year veteran in the field of environmental engineering. He is an expert in matters involving environmental impact policies and their application to matters of global resilience. Mr. Smith graduated from Florida A&M University with a BS in civil engineering. He currently is the principal consultant of W.L. Smith and Associates. He is currently organizing, excuse me. He is currently the organizing representative for the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign and is the founder and chairman of the Tampa Bay Disaster Resiliency Initiative. As a broadcast journalist, he hosts NPR's weekly radio show, The Sunday Forum, on WMNF 88.5, and also a good friend of mine. As wonderful, wonderful gentleman, though I don't always let him hear it. Is Stel with us? Yes, Stel is with us. We have Stel Bailey, Chief Executive Director at Fight for Zero. She's a co-facilitator of the National PFAS Contamination Coalition and a recognized environmental health advocate who has worked as an assistant environmentalist, collecting samples and gathering critical data. In 2013, when her father, brother, and family dog, uncle, and she was diagnosed with cancer without any family history, their case being so unique, they had to have genetic testing, which showed no mutation genes, indicating they did not have an increased risk for developing the disease. She began to crowdsource cancer cases in her hometown on the Space Coast. So, and I believe that that short bio was in her in the film. And we have, oh, I'm so sorry. As she spoke out about her family's cases, she connected with others affected by diseases in unusual ways. Bailey became passionate about clean water, toxic exposures, the environment, and disease prevention. Her powerful testimony of overcoming illness and losing her family to preventable diseases have given her an influential platform to educate others. I need to unmute you as well. I'm so sorry. Okay, make it co-host. Now you should be able to turn your camera on. And our last panelist is Mr. Andy Mele. He is a master's degree. He's the executive director at Peace and Micaiah River Waterkeepers. He's a master's degree in environmental science, concentrated in environmental economics and policy. He is the author of Polluting for Pleasure, the book that led directly to the extinction of 12 million cycle outboard motors, ending annual discharges into American waterways of 50 million gallons of oil and gasoline from pleasure boats. He was executive director of Clearwater, the Hudson River Environmental Group, formed by folk singer Pete Seeger in 1966, and won the 30-year battle with GE over its massive PCB spill in the Hudson. He was recently executive director of Suncoast Waterkeeper, working for protection of coastal ecosystems to halt phosphate strip mining and untrampled development in Florida, and to bring red tide back to pre-development levels. He served in the US Navy from 1968 to 1971, and he previously ran a wooden boat building company for 18 years. Thank you so much for the panelists being here. Unfortunately, Nikki did have a last minute conflict, but she did record for us a video that I will play momentarily, if I can get this done correctly. And then we'll hear her video, and then we'll go right into the forum. Just 1 second. Maybe not. I closed the wrong file. All right. We'll pause on that one. So I will start by saying phosphate says a lot of things. A lot of us have wanted to say for many years. Erik Crown has done an excellent job of exposing the deviousness and duplicity of Mosaic. Although 3PR and the DECF cannot endorse this film, as there are concerns of claims made we don't believe can be proven as of yet. Water quality impact is likely the most important issue to the public concerning phosphate mining and fertilizer production. You know, there's just this small little lane where the science isn't, you know, that's the excuse. They always make this excuse in between this little detail, or they sue you if you go beyond that little detail. However, this movie is clearly a very impactful film, highlighting the misleading ads that Mosaic shows to the public and setting them side by side with the real picture of phosphate mining devastation and ultimate ruin. He shows how Mosaic bribes small counties to ingratiate themselves into the community ahead of mining. He raises the question of increased radioactivity at former mining sites, which is something that Mosaic has never adequately addressed. The filming itself is unmatched and a first feature-length documentary to show the true picture of this so far well-kept secret in Florida's hinterlands. All right, Erik, with that, please go ahead. Everybody should be able to unmute themselves and turn their cameras on. And let me change the view to the gallery view, so that way the viewers can see us all.
All right.
All right, we should all be able to unmute and share our screens or discuss.
Well, you know, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for having this screening and allowing this to become a larger conversation. You know, I think there's so many groups and so many activists and so many approaches trying to fight for the same type of future. And it's nice to see the unity and everybody being able to come together and talk about ways that we can make changes. You know, I saw somebody had asked, well, where do we go, you know, from here? Before we get into even bigger topic ideas, remember that there is a revote in 2023 in DeSoto County. And on our website and on the Facebook page, we're going to be having the information so you can contact the county commissioners and let them know your thoughts on phosphate mining. So one thing we can do is try to stop Mosaic from expanding into DeSoto in 2023. It's a tangible thing. It's within our grasp. DeSoto already did it once. It's not a vote, it's a revote. So I just wanted to throw that out there as one thing that we can all work together on to make changes.
That is very important as a call to action. Can Jesssika, you want to say a couple of things, or Stel, if you're with us and available, on really acknowledging the problems that we face to actually accomplish some of this stuff? What is the problem with Mosaic? There's a lot that they do in building up fertilizer and getting that out overseas for people to get food and things like that, but put a little bit of meat on the bones, if you would.
Would you like me to address that? I don't think I see Stel having her microphone on or photo.
I'm 1 minute from my house, so I'll be right on in just
Okay,
1 minute.
wonderful,
Go
wonderful.
ahead.
Okay, I guess I'll take this question, but I'll also turn it over to Andy Mele, who was instrumental in leading the community's efforts to get the no vote in the first place. So basically, you have to kind of do what Andy and I and a couple of other friends of ours, did. You have to work on campaigns. You have to try and get new leadership in office. And, you need to get people to realize, the economy of Florida is the environment, and the environment of Florida is the economy. It's sort of interchangeable. And that is kind of the aim of our organization, is to raise awareness and to help, get people to run who are environmentally active and believe that, that's that important to guard it. And, we have to affect change and get people elected. So, and we will be doing a lot of different things. I'll speak more to it, but perhaps the best person, because they have gotten this done, not only up in the Hudson River, with his background, kind of slaying the Goliath, David versus Goliath effort, is Andy. So Andy, would you like to have a couple words about what you think might happen in 2023? Because it's my understanding that instead of doing this piecemeal, they will throw this whole thing into one enchilada and get a revote on it. Correct?
Yeah.
2023.
Thanks, Jessica. Thank you very much. What's going to happen in 2023 is that with the call it leadership of their county attorney, Don Conn, no relation to Russ, they're going to be considering these 5 people, none of whom are the sharpest tools in the shed, and I'm sure they would all be the first to admit that. But all 5, I couldn't consider all this stuff. There's 3 elements to this. There's the rezone, which is pretty deep, but it's basically the same as the rezone argument was a couple of years ago. It's basically, there are 15 criteria for meeting the requirements for a rezone in DeSoto County, and phosphate mining met maybe 5 of them. And the rest of them, it completely did not meet. And I fail to see what's going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that the county commissioners will probably be ready for this one. They're being worked on constantly, daily by Mosaic. The second piece is there's going to be a mastermind plan, which is sort of the overarching, action plan for this 20,000 plus acre mine. And then there's going to be an operating permit, which will let them start, burning off all the animals and the plants and all the native Florida habitat and the rangeland and everything else that they're going to be just destroying up there. I've sort of stepped away from my sort of conventional approach, which is, to keep trying to work on the court of public opinion, to keep trying to get stuff out in front of the press and everything like that. I've gone under the radar, and I'm working with a group of people who will just have to remain nameless and everything at this point. And we're working on building a database that will provide a really strong scientific basis.
So let's go from there and talk about some of the solutions and goals. So
I was working for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of where we're going. That you're not quite at the liberty to say.
That's true. I'm not.
So from the rest of the panelists, what do you guys see as what we should level set and goal to find these solutions? Where do we go from here?
Actually,
What's
what Stel thinks about that, because Stel has had some success in being able to change how communities and statewide water is treated, and communities are treated and heard. So
Go ahead, Stu.
Yeah, so I focus a lot on the science and the data, and data drives change on both the local, state, and federal level. And so I think we really need to start embracing science on a local level as citizens and as organizations, and start getting the data, because we've relied too much on the polluters to do that for us. And when we started embracing that and doing that part of the work and crowdsourcing cancer cases and autoimmune diseases, and we started seeing these hotspots, and we were able to call out the Department of Health and ask them, you know, why is it that communities have the burden of proof? Why do we have to come to the department and ask them to investigate these communities and their health concerns? You guys collect this data already, and we have such advances in technology. Why are we not using that? And so I think, you know, part of the solution is data, getting on the Department of Health to fulfill their role in the health aspect of all of this and how people are being affected by phosphate mining and other pollution in the state of Florida. You know, even when it comes down to blue-green algae, we've seen this, you know, where they're studying it. And so we need a lot more data, and we need a lot more studies when it comes to the human health impact of this. And so we're working with the solutions on both the state and federal level, trying to get new legislation introduced and pushing for better health protective standards on a state level, and with the Safe Drinking Water Act, which hasn't been revised for decades. And so we need to really focus on that on a federal level to help safeguard our families and our children from drinking these potentially really toxic contaminants that need more studies from the EPA and other government agencies.
Very, very well said. Anybody want to add anything to that? I think she did hit exactly quite well. Now, when we talk about asking the legislature, we are all Floridians, and we have some previous candidates as well. So I think we kind of, unfortunately, are set a little bit, you know, in opposition, because the legislature doesn't seem to want to act. And I think part of the mission here that we have is to work across the aisle. I know there were people in the film, Erik, you can definitely comment to that, you know, of across the aisle. This isn't just a Democrat or a Republican thing. Erik, please go ahead and tell us about some of that, some of the strange bedfellows.
That's a really, no, that's a great point. That was the one thing that I really found that was amazing, is that no matter what people's political view is, they all see that this is important to their family, to their health, to their friends, to their relatives, and to their future. So that sort of disperses the whole political thing. You know, we always say, don't look at the environment through your political party's talking points. Instead, judge every politician through the lens of the environment. And that is what we need to do as we move forward, because we need to rethink about how people are delivering on their promises and what promises they're making to us, because, you know, we need them to become part of the process. You know, Mosaic is in my eyes, at least, a big problem for cancer and for a lot of other issues. And we need them to come out and talk to us as well. So I think the more visible we can make things and the more out in the open we can talk about these topics, you know, they're always trying to hush everything, then the bigger chance we have of creating a unity across both sides. Because, you know, like I said, once it becomes about your family's health, I mean, 1 in 3 people are going to get cancer in the United States. Think about your family, think about how big that is, and think about what kind of odds that gives everybody. We need to change this. We can stop some of these environmental cancers, and we have the opportunity to do that. So.
Well, and I know Walter works in frontline communities on a regular basis. Walter, did you have anything to add on that?
I do. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I've listened to everyone here, and in watching the documentary, which was very well done, Erik. Kudos to you and the work that you've done. And I'm so sorry for your condition. But let me tell you, I not only work in the frontline communities, but I've also worked for Mosaic as a contractor. And everywhere I saw exactly what you were talking about, and I knew about it from Mulberry, when you were talking about Mulberry and those areas there. And I worked all along those areas as a private contractor, to know some of the devastation that these people have caused. It is inexcusable to me that, as Stel said, that the public health, the agencies of public health have not been involved in resolving this issue is inexcusable, absolutely inexcusable. The mere fact that they have the ability to go out to communities, knowing that these things are happening, knowing they're happening, and to come out with proof evident to show the connection between the illnesses that have taken place in these frontline communities, or in any community for that matter, but in frontline communities, and what the production is, of the effluent of what they're releasing from those properties into the waterways right now is absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. Let me tell you, the legislature, for instance, being what it is right now structurally, the legislature right now muddies the water, pardon the pun, but it literally muddies the water. This is not a Republican or Democratic thing. This is a human thing. We have got to begin to look at this thing from that perspective and begin to hold these people accountable for the human rights violations that they're continuing to commit. What they're doing is criminal, and they know it. And because we know it, we need to start bringing these people to account for what they're truly doing, what they're truly doing. You know, and I'll stop here in just a minute. The bottom line is, there was a time period where you had people in the civil rights movement that wanted to bring America to account for human rights violations, right? And America knew what it was doing. It knew what it was doing. And there were people who were assassinated for threatening to bring this to the United Nations. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this right here is criminal, and it is at that level. They are destroying this state, and they are killing people, and that is inexcusable. And that's what I have to say on that topic.
Thank you, Andy.
I completely agree with what he's saying. I think the day has passed for us to, try to play footsie with the FDOH and the FDEP. They are not working for us. They're working for themselves. Their jobs are nothing more than to massage public opinion and lull everybody into a false sense of security. We need to get around them. We need to fight them with everything we have, take them to the United Nations, take them wherever we need to go, and get around this whole thing, get around DeSantis, the legislature is a disaster. Well, anyhow, that's what I think we need to get around them.
Yeah.
And just for the jugular.
Yeah, there is a lot of people to take to task. And I wish I had a woodshed, if you know what I mean. Because there are plenty of people that have responsibility over the past 30, 40, 50 years to leading us to this degradation and this point. I guess Jesssika, what do you think we should be doing? What's our call to action? What can we do to stop Mosaic right now, right today? What can we do?
Well, you're in the right spot because you watched this movie. So first you have to identify that you have a problem. I mean, most people would rather just live in denial because it's a lot easier to take than this reality. In 2018, having grown up on the Gulf Coast and lived here for most of my about 52 years now, I saw this happen with my own eyes. In 2018, we had a red tide and then we had a green tide. And I went looking for answers, like, where does this come from? Where does this cyanobacteria, all this crap? So a bunch of girls and we started paying to sample water and send it out of state and get answers to our questions. And it actually gave us more questions than answers. And I went to speak with our then waterkeeper, Andy Mele, quite a few times to try and see if we could test some of this water. So I'm so glad that this film did this, and that the citizen scientists, unfortunately, have to be the civil servants of the state, because I find the civil servants of the state are neither civil nor serving, in that they're not doing their job. And so we need to take them to task. But I kind of arriving, listening to Mr. Mele and really appreciating his knowledge on the subject, I have to say that I think he's probably doing it right and just overstepping these people. I went to the office of Mr. James Buchanan last week, And he told me he didn't know anything about DeSoto mines or anything. And I find that a little hard to believe, seeing that, you know, he gets money from Mosaic probably, and I'm for sure his father, who was a cameo in this movie. Not a cameo, but I saw a clip with him. Sorry, I need to regress from saying that. But so, you know, you can join a caucus like ours. You know, you can join a beach protest. You can sign important petitions for, you know, different things like we have here. Let me see. You can attend a meeting in DeSoto or Manatee counties and just show up. But, you know, I've done all these things and I resent going there because I have to take off a day from work. And basically the takeaway is, you know, they get hours to talk and we get 2 minutes, and I didn't even bother speaking the last time. But if I had to get up there, I would tell them that I resent that we're there. And I would tell them that there's 3 issues I take with this. Number one, you know, you're wasting our time with this. And when is no, no. We've already gone through this exercise. We had a resounding 4-1 no against expansion. Number 2, you know, you could really just save everybody's time and just get in a bus, charter a bus, and go to Polk County and go visit all these places. Then you'll know how your town's going to look. Number 3, while it may be legal to discharge these waters, is it moral and is it ethical, especially when potentially a million Floridians get their drinking water supply from the Peace River? And 4th, and probably most pertinent to the conversation for the folks, you know, in Arcadia, which I've been going there since I'm knee-high to a grasshopper, and yes, I can speak like that because I was brought up here, is, you know, it's a way of life that is going to be totally destroyed. And this town represents, you know, our oldest industries, citrus farming and cattle ranching. So there's all these issues, and those are the 3 takeaways that I take from that. And okay, Andy, go ahead. Yes, I'm sure you will.
Jesssika, you sound great. You're completely right. I just want to say one thing. In the early days, the early days of the Clean Water Act, the legislative intent was to never, ever have in America another industrial sewer, like, for instance, the Hudson River had been. And that was clearly the legislative intent of the Clean Water Act. Today, the Peace River is in stark violation of that legislative intent every single step of the way. It is an industrial sewer, nothing less. And the Peace River Minnesota Regional Water Supply Authority is there valiantly trying to suck up a few drops of water and treat it and treat it and treat it and treat it and you know, give us clean water. But the fact is that the FDEP and the FDOH and all of them are in complete and total violation of the Clean Water Act, the Federal Clean Water Act, and they should have their delegated Clean Water Act authorities revoked. That would be a delicious solution to this problem.
Yeah, I think one of the other things is we all need to have our science degrees, go get jobs at FDEP and literally unionize and strike until they can't operate to even write the dang permits to approve the permits. That might be a good way to get at them. Come on, I know Walter liked that one.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I you know, I started out at DEP. That was like my first job out of college and out of undergrad. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's so out of focus. It is so out of focus. And up until fairly recently, so have our organizations. Now I'm very happy to see so many of our organizations now shift gears and look at what's most important, and that's the human value of this entire thing. You know, and then of course, you know, we look at Florida, we look at the state of Florida, and we look at what the lies these people tell are incredible. I sat there and watched, like, how I, along with one of my proteges, were like the first people down there to Piney Point when it happened. And I could not believe when 2 weeks later, the now former secretary of DEP said that there was no, understand, I rewound the news reel so I could watch it and make sure I read the quote itself. He said there was no radioactive material that left that stack at Piney Point going into the waterways. I was blown. I was blown. I wanted to pick up the phone and call Russ. I wanted to call somebody. I wanted to tell somebody, what the hell is this guy talking about? Does he even have a science degree, this guy? I mean, like, incredible. There's no way in the hell that you come up with that and then come up with the concept of saying, well, it'll just dilute radioactive waste. You're going to dilute radioactive waste. Really? That's
right.
what
and then we have this giant fish kill off, you know, two weeks later, where people can't even go to the beach without breathing in toxins.
And people are trying to figure out why the fish are dead. They're literally saying, well, we don't know yet why the fish are dead. And I'm like, what do you mean? Why?
They got old. They just wanted to take a long nap, you know?
Massive heat, radioactive material, massive heat, nitrogen, you do the math. Like, come on. I mean, unbelievable. And the estuaries are just being tortured right now. Just tortured.
So Stel, I know you've had a huge amount of health effects. Can you touch on that a little bit? I mean, the personal stories really matter as to what Walter was getting at. And I know Erik has had effects as well, but I find your story very, very powerful. You want to tell us a little bit?
I think that's how, you know, Erik and I connect so well. When I meet other cancer patients or survivors or caregivers, there's this connection that's indescribable, because we just get what we've gone through or are going through. And so, yeah, in 2013, my uncle, family dog, myself, my little brother, and my father were diagnosed with cancer. And so we went on this journey of no family history at all of cancer. We grew up on Florida's Space Coast, which is on the east coast of Florida. We call it the Space Coast because that's where shuttles launch, right from our backyards. And we went, every time I had a doctor's appointment, the doctors would come into the room and they were so intrigued by our case. They would say, where did you grow up? Did you grow up near this? What kind, you know, was there anything in your drinking water? And it really started making us wonder what is going on here. And so we were offered to do genetic testing, and that genetic testing came back that we had no mutation genes, which typically can point more towards an environmental factor. So I made it my lifelong mission, once my oncologist said you're in remission in 2014, to start crowdsourcing cases where I grew up. And so when I started crowdsourcing them, I had people from all across the state of Florida that wanted to submit their information. You know, they were diagnosed in their 20s. We're not seeing, you know, people that are in a much older, you know, age frame. We're seeing lifelong residents getting diagnosed in their 20s. And that's how old I was. And my brother was 21. And all of our friends that have found tumors and had kidney cancer and breast cancer, they're in their early 20s. That is just not normal. So yeah, that's a part of my story and why I got onto this journey of environmental health. I really, really was passionate about both the environment, because I learned that we had cancer-causing chemicals called PFAS, or also known as perfluorinated compounds, in our drinking water that came from the Department of Defense site. And it's at every Department of Defense site in the state of Florida. We have some of the highest levels in the nation. So that's affected us. And you know, phosphate mining is just another piece of that puzzle of what's going on in the state of Florida.
All right. What we're going to do, if we can, the panelists take a minute to take a look at some of the Q&As, and maybe we'll answer two of them live. We're going to go a little bit long. I think we'll have a good discussion going. Real quick, I'm going to play the clip from Nikki while the panelists answer a couple of Q&As and pick a couple to answer live. And then we will we'll come back and finish the panel up and give everybody some closing time.
Good evening, Democrats all across the state of Florida. Good evening, Democrats all across the state of Florida. My name is Nikki Freed. I'm your Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. I wanted to send a very special shout out to the Democratic Environmental Caucus and to the Sarasota Democratic Caucus for all of the hard work that you have done protecting our environment across the state of Florida and putting on such an exceptional evening. We know we have a lot of work to do. The mining industry has decimated our state. Look what happened out in Piney Point. These are waiting, ticking time bombs. And with one small catastrophic event, hundreds and hundreds of millions of gallons of toxic water filling out in the bays. And each of these other gypsum stacks are the same conditions, just waiting for the opportunity to destroy our environment, destroy our ecosystem, our marine life, our economy, and people's way of lives. So having additional attention to this issue is so important, making sure the rest of the state wakes up to what is happening here in our state. As Commissioner of Agriculture, I do not oversee the mining conditions and mining permits in our state, but I've called out DEP and the governor's office for not taking proactive actions to not only clean up the water that is already in all of these stacks, but more importantly, to come up with a game plan. How do we stop this from happening and continuing for generations to come? There's no plan in place. I've asked those questions. I've raised them at cabinet meetings. I've raised them in letters to DEP and to the governor's office with no response. We know that if we don't protect our environment today, we won't have it for tomorrow. It's also why that I have written letters to the DEP that we should not be extending any permits to Mosaic. Mosaic is one of the worst environmental actors in the state of Florida and across the country, and have never been held accountable. I've traveled the state and have listened to so many stories of people on the ground, whether it is city and county commissioners, whether it's people that live into these communities, whether it's activists or general citizens who have seen firsthand the tactics that get used by Mosaic to get their way in politics, to get their way on permitting, and we've got to stop this. DEP is not supposed to be a rubber stamp for these permits. They're supposed to look that there's a plan to protect our environment, and that's just not happening. So we need people like you, and we need documentaries like you're seeing tonight that elevate this issue and bring it to the forefront, that people all across our state understand that this has to stop. If we destroy our environment, there is no going back. There's no fixing it. And the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that it's going to take to fix the current situation should not be on the backs of the taxpayers. These companies that have intentionally destroyed our environment are taking good water and moving it around into areas and putting it into other communities once it's dirty. This is our Flint, Michigan, and we need to stand up, we need to stand united, and we need to educate the people of our state what is happening so that we can be united, and the people of our state finally having a voice at the table to stand up to these polluters that are hurting our environment. So everybody who has been engaged in this war for a very long time, we have a choice. We have a choice in November 2022 to end this corruption, to end the control that Mosaic has had on our state for so many years and decades. So thank you for staying engaged. Thank you for wanting to lend your voice to this cause. And thank you again to our environmental caucuses for continuously being the lead and the voice. We count on you and we thank you.
Ooh,
Thanks,
that's
Nikki.
awesome.
Thanks, Nikki. So, I mean, that I think she said it very, very well, and I appreciate the commissioner and the clarity for the attendees to know that it's under the governorship who controls the DEP ultimately. So this is a fight of our future in 2022. So I don't know did anybody see any good Q&A questions? I know we're short on time, but I'd like to at least answer a couple. Was there any that any of the panelists wanted to address?
There was one in particular about if Piney Point had enough money to remediate.
Sure.
If I read that correctly, and the answer to that is no, absolutely not. They start out in April of this year with $3 million, and then another 15.5 million was given to them. Let me tell you something. That's not even a drop in the bucket. what they've done was so devastating. What's happened there is so devastating. There are things that have gone unmentioned over there with Planning Point, and but that's only for the stuff that we know about. That's only the stuff that we know about right now. The devastation to our estuaries, you know, how do you remediate that? How do you remediate that? What they say is that we can use deep injection wells as suggested. Are they crazy? Injection wells of that material into our aquifer for what exactly? In hopes that it's going to concentrate, that it's going to dissipate somehow. Yeah, that's exactly what they're thinking.
Yeah,
that's going to dissipate.
It's amazing to me that the proposals to do these deep injection wells. You start, they'll do it, they'll drop it in, they'll say, oh, here's our test case. They'll start doing it, but concentrations increase over time. So you might not see the effects of the concentration until 10, 20 years down the road when you start having new cancer clusters, because they're going to think it's safe and fine because nothing's going to happen right away because the concentration levels have not gone to that degree. So one of the most important things that we can do, as Jesssika had said, is some representatives literally don't know. They don't know better. So whether it's your local county commission that is considering doing deep water injection, whether it's your congressperson or whether it's your House and Senate representatives, get them this video, get them this show, talk to them, explain to them, get them informed, give them good data and real facts and real science-based solutions, because the Mosaic ads, those are fake news. It's alternative facts. It's Kelly Conway talking about Bowling Green, right? Like legitimately.
And let me just say this real quick, Russ. Now I don't want to take too much time. I know we're on a time crunch here, but let me be clear about this point. As a Black man, now I'm going to be very clear about this point. As a Black man, it scares me to death, because there is precedence for these people who are in power to turn around and sweep under the rug what they will do to our communities. They will turn right around and they will find a way to dump those waters, which they've already done, in our communities and poison us. And then 10 years down the line, nobody knows because somebody has put the magic coin out there that for some other issue that will distract us from what's really happened out there. And they are guilty, as I told you before, of human rights, but they have done racist things, and this is environmental racism left and right. No question about it. That's been done. We need to watch it very carefully. Watch it very carefully.
If you'd like, I'd like to answer a couple of the questions that are here, and I can answer them can phosphate mining be done sustainably? Well, this industry's been here since the 1880s. You now have the largest company doing this, the largest phosphate mining company. I mean, there's a couple other phosphate mining companies in the state, don't get me wrong, although you could argue it's antitrust in the case of DeSoto County, because they're the only ones. But they own 20% of DeSoto County, FYI. But the answer to that question is no, it's never been a sustainable or clean industry. And certainly the way they're doing it now is not, and it's on steroids because they have so much of our land. What are our thoughts on the right to clean water Florida 5 referendum? My understanding that at the state level, our organization voted yes to support them. We have done so in Sarasota County with a positive yes to support them. That would be the rights of nature.
Nikki, you are correct. The state environmental caucus is also supportive of the rights to nature, the rights to clean water FL5 referendum.
What does Nikki Freed think about deep well injection? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that she's written letters against expanding the mine over, I think, is it Bartow or is it New Wales? I think New Wales mine to increase their stack where the 215 million that we know about gallons of wastewater went into a sinkhole. So they want to add to that. She wrote a letter stating she didn't advocate for that at all.
Yep. And I think what we will do, I will capture all of these, because we have 23 open Q&As. I'm going to send all of these questions to our panelists. And then what we will do is we will send out, because we have all of your attendees' emails, and we will send out the answers to these questions for everybody to review. I don't want to keep everybody on too late. So what we're going to do is we are going to wrap up. Thank you everybody for attending. I'm going to give each panelist a minute, and then we'll do a last thank you to everybody from the state. Okay, so give us another 5 minutes. We're going to go through it. And please, each of the panelists, tell us a little bit about what the work you're doing, your organization, how we can support you, how the individuals can get a hold of you if they want to work with your organizations. We'll start with Walter.
You want to start with Walter, huh?
Well, you want to go last? I'll save the best for last. You want to go last? You can go last.
Hey, listen. I just want to say to everybody, I am very glad to be in this panel discussion. There's no other place I'd rather be when talking about this issue than right here, right now. I'm very, very happy to see this happen. Erik, again, kudos to you and the work you've been doing. Kudos to everybody out here on this panel for the work they've been doing. I have worked for over 20 years in this field, dealing with these issues, trying to educate the people of frontline communities about land use, how to redevelop communities effectively, and then environmental impacts and how to deal with those properly. And the fact that we need to get involved as a vanguard of our own issues in our frontline communities. Currently I'm working with as the organizing representative for Sierra Club with regard to the Beyond Coal campaign, which is an arm of the 100% clean energy fight that we have been taking on for so long. And we are making great headway. Very happy about this. And we are taking the fight to TICO to get them to actually change over and get that solar energy put in. We got to do it. We have to do it. Too many lives have been at stake. I'm also working with Black and Brown communities to make sure that we are as I said before, in the front lines of our own issues. We are usually the ones who are at the top of the list whenever we talk about impacts, health impacts that happen to our communities, and we can no longer afford to have other people speak for us when it comes to these issues. We've got to be on the front line of those issues right here, right now. So we're standing 10 toes down, boots on the ground, ready to go right now.
Thanks, Walter. Stel.
Stel.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So I just want to thank you guys for having me on this and a part of this discussion panel. I really appreciate it. And so Fight for Zero, how you guys could help us is we're in the middle of numerous projects. And one of the main projects that we've been working on for nearly 8 years is crowdsourcing cancer and autoimmune diseases. So if you know somebody with a cancer diagnosis or autoimmune disease, they could go to our website, fight the number 4 and 0 spelled out.org, and they could submit that information. And we are working on a map that doesn't identify people, but it's going to put their diagnosis and their age on the map. And we also have a pollution map. So if you want to take a look at that and you see any missing data, if you know of a pollution site, let us know so we can add it to that map. We also have a project where we're testing fish for toxins and we're trying to expand that. So keep an eye out for that. And we have numerous other ones where we're buying water kits. So we have them on hand to send them out to people. I drove out to Arcadia. We've been out in that area helping get radiation testing done on people's wells and their drinking water. So we would really appreciate the help there as well. So we're really just trying to collect data, embrace the science. We're working together with the University of Florida and scientists, epidemiologists, toxicologists, biostatisticians to really get this work done and to be able to have that clear understanding of what could possibly be happening in these different areas of Florida. And again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, well, you probably won't hear much from me of any substance for about another 2 years. And then I hope it will be explosive and fantastic. Erik, I've seen your movie 3 times now. And I got to tell you, it gets tighter and better every time. So hats off, kudos to you, majorly, majorly. My first impression was, well, you know, it's cool. Don't let the facts get in the way of the truth. But in fact, you got it. You really did get it. So, you know, I love this film. I love what it says. I love what it does. I love seeing all my friends in it. And I just think you did an awesome job. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that, man.
All right, thank you, Andy. Erik, go ahead.
Well, you know, I think one of the big takeaways is that even though there are so many issues right now facing the water in Florida, what I found are the most amazing and inspirational activists anywhere in the world. So, you know, what I see happening down there is people are actively trying to change the future. It's so important. And it was incredible to get to meet everybody in the movie, as well as people that I've been able to meet as things continue on. So, you know, we have to remember there are solutions. We're not beat. You know, like I think Jesssika mentioned earlier, it's a David Goliath battle, but we know who won and we know how. And so, you know, we just have to make sure take care of each other, keep an eye out for each other. And that's the only way we're going to ever move forward. You know, I just wanted to say this story is particular for DeSoto, but it's also worldwide. I mean, this is a major problem. Walter brought it up. There's environmental injustice and environmental racism that was actually addressed by the president in 1994, because it is a known problem where they are just dumping toxins into neighborhoods they think cannot fight back. And this is what we need to change. We have to change the way things are done. And I just wanted to bring that to light in the movie. I had no idea what I was going to find when I got there. None of it is fabricated. And if people want to debate some of the testing, then great. Let's get better testing. Let's get certified testing. Let's get some answers. So I think that's what everybody wants. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for being here today and everybody that came to watch the movie. It's important that we have these conversations on a dinner table level, on a friend level, on a public level, on a state level, because again, it's the only way we're going to affect any change. So very honored to be part of this process.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to let Jesssika have the last word because she was amazing. Thank you so much to all of the panelists. Erik, the film was wonderful. Andy, I've known you for a long time. I was the first time I really woke up was when I flew with you and our county commissioner a couple of years ago. And I'm not gonna say it the wrong way again, but I'm gonna be in touch with you because I actually live in Seffner, which is one of your locations of clusters. So I need to get in touch with you anyway. And I used to live in Broward. So, and Walter, I don't need to say anything about you. You're wonderful. But so thank you everybody for attending, for all of your time. I'm Russ Conn. I am the state president of the Democratic Environmental Caucus of Florida. You can get involved with our state caucus by joining the membership link, which I will put in there for your dues for 22. It's $10, not a whole lot to join as a member. And you can join a committee, you can work on a committee, we can all do all of this work and get going. But I really do want to plug the Sarasota chapter and Jesssika Arman. This was her baby. She kicked me in the butt and got me moving. I've been moving a lot, but she got me focused and directive. So with that, I'm going to give the last words to Jesssika. And thank you everybody for your attendance. Go ahead, Jesssika.
Well, thank you everyone out there in Cyberland, and grateful for Zooms and, you know, getting to see Erik is in Costa Rica and I'm here in Sarasota and Andy's in here and Stel is on the other beautiful coast of our wonderful state. And Walter, it's nice to meet all of you. And, you know, we can, if we get together, you know, we can affect change. But it will take thousands of us. It's not going to just be hundreds. It's going to be thousands of people. So we need to make everybody aware. We have 24 chapters out of 67 counties of our environmental caucus. And I urge you to join the one that's closest to you and get involved. We can make a difference. We need to, you know, stay in touch with one another and work in unity. I don't care if you're an NPA or you know, a Dem or a Republican. I love everybody. and everyone knows who's met me. I'm the same to everyone. I just don't talk about politics. If you'd like to become a member of our caucus, we did have a link in the chat, and we also have a website. We're going to have our resolution on there that we got passed on the local level, and then also Russ's, the state level. You can join a protest. I'm kind of beyond that at this point, but a lot of people like to do that. You can sign petitions, also the fl5.org, and you can also attend the meetings in DeSoto, and also tomorrow, short notice, but there is Wednesday, October 6th, and thank you, Ruth, from our caucus up in Manatee County from 4 to 7 in the Manatee County or Bradenton, Manatee Downtown Central Library. They're going to be having a last minute discussion about the draft permit on the injection well. So I thank everybody for being here and your time. This was a long time, but informative. And this is also the third time I've watched this film, and every time I get a new nugget. So Erik and everybody in this movie, hats off to you and the very best. And health is wealth. Please stay well.
All right. And with that, everybody, thank you. If any of the panelists want to stay on and chat, the attendees are welcome. We're going to go ahead and stop streaming on Facebook, but we can leave this open for a little bit longer if people want to continue to chat and cut up and maybe answer some more questions. We can actually bring attendees up and all of that stuff if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and take down the Facebook but if you do want to go, you are free to go. Thank you, everybody on Facebook world.
I've got nowhere else to be.
All right, let's